Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Ira.
and welcome to the Mustcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we'll start with media consuming, and today we have Ira back again, so you can start this time.
Yippee. Let me think. All right, media I've been consuming. I've been reading a lot of books lately. I just finished Verity by Colleen Hoover. That book was crazy. If you're a reader, I would definitely recommend it. Not her other books, just Verity. Um, I've been mostly playing the same video games I always play. I did get into Phasmophobia recently. It's terrifying. A friend of mine bought it for me and held me at gunpoint to play it, and I was scared the whole time. But it's also very fun. Other than that, though, I haven't really been doing much. To be real.
I would imagine it is scary being held at gunpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I've been watching Community. Me, you've talked about Community before. It's my favorite sitcom. I don't watch a lot of sitcoms. I don't really watch a lot of things that are made specifically to be like a comedy, like for laughs.
Mm,
I don't know why.
mm.
That for some reason I just don't go out of my way to watch stuff, especially movies. When it comes to movies, I definitely don't care to go and watch a movie that's specifically made to be funny. It's probably why I hated Thor: Love and Thunder so much. I hate that movie so much. Um, I hate it so much that when it was added to Disney Plus, I did not care to watch it. Um, Next time I watch it is gonna be because a reaction YouTube channel posts their reaction to it, and I just want to watch the whole thing with them again, even though I hate it. I do want to watch it again just to gauge if I still hate it as much as I did the first time. But yeah,
Right.
a couple episodes ago, I was saying how season four wasn't as good as the previous three. And I retract that statement. Season four was amazing. I'm on season five now. I've ran through season four. I think I maybe just need to take a short break, or maybe the first couple episodes weren't that good.
Mm,
But season four was fantastic, and season five is great. There's a there are several like the two huge status quo changes that happen. I think even either at the end of season four, or beginning of season five, and they still managed to have the show be amazing despite those changes. It is ridiculous how good Community is.
mm.
They're working on a movie. I discussed that last time, and the movie's gonna happen eventually. It's just a matter of I feel like the biggest hangup is that Donald Glover is a very busy man, and I feel like that has been what's held up that movie from happening for a while. So because there's no way they're doing it without him. So that whenever
Right.
he's free is when it'll happen. So I'm excited for that. Rick and Morty came back. They're like 3, 4 episodes in now. It was my first time watching an episode of Rick and Morty within the day it was premiered, or a couple days after it premiered, because they put the first episode on YouTube, and you could watch it for free on Adult Swim with like ads. And I wish that they would do the like a simul release on HBO Max, because what happens is the last 2 seasons of Rick and Morty I just have not watched in full, and instead I just watch people react to it, because once after I watch them react to the whole season every week, I don't feel like going back to watch the entire season again. So it's resulted in me having not sat down and watched the entirety of the last 2 seasons, which I think I'm gonna do sometime soon. But like, I wish they would just have it, come out at the very least a week after the episode airs. Have it come on HBO Max or some other streaming service. But HBO Max is the service that they post Rick and Morty to. So I don't know. I just wish they would do that because I want to watch it. But like, I don't have cable, and neither does like a lot of people. So like, I feel like they should do this. I don't understand why they haven't.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've also been playing a lot of Wolfenstein. I played through the first one and its expansion, the Old Blood, and it's so good. There's nothing like shooting Nazis. There's just nothing like it. Like as I'm playing it, I'm like, one, I need a movie. I want a movie based off Wolfenstein, but also I need more games where I'm just get to shoot zombies. I mean, excuse me, Nazis. In the DLC, there are Nazi zombies, but mostly it's just regular Nazis. And I don't know, I just really like the world of that machine gun games built with the reboot. Uh, and I'm not enjoying the second one as much. Me and you have talked at length about this.
Right.
It's a clear evolution of graphics in terms of its capability, and ultimately that has come to hinder the level design of the game, and it resulted in every level being you never know where you need to go because it's too realistic. It's so realistic that it looks like a natural environment and you can't tell which direction the game is trying to point you towards, which games should know how to do that. And there have been games that are realistic that have managed to do that before, but this just isn't one of them. And the level design of the first game, which is just a bunch of Nazi architecture, because a part of the story is that they go to places and destroy them and rebuild them with their architecture. They're very, like Spartan architecture, and it makes it easy for you to navigate everything, and everything is very uniform. And I like that about the first one in terms of its level design. And it definitely helped it, harken back to the original Wolfenstein in the way that the levels were designed due to its, limitations back then. And I don't know, I'm just not enjoying the second one, but the first one and its DLC I loved so much. And I also discovered that I like Doom 2016 more than Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is still great. And the thing that Doom Eternal adds that I like more than 2016 is the traversal and the weak points on the enemies. But the level design in terms of the way they look, the way they look and the way they're set up, I like 2016 more. And I also, the only thing about 2016 I would say is that sometimes the rooms are just too small. And because of that, that limits your traversal. And that's the only thing I feel like I don't like about 2016 versus Eternal. But yeah, I hope the third one, whenever that comes out, is a good blend between both of those games. Same thing with Wolfenstein whenever a third one of those happen. But moving on to animation. Wendell Wild. Did you check out that trailer for Wendell Wild?
I did, and I can't even like quantify how excited I am for this movie.
Yeah, so it premieres October 28th of 2022, so in about a month almost at this point. It's a stop motion dark fantasy comedy starring Black characters, and it's produced by Jordan Peele and directed by Henry Selick, who also directed Coraline, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and James and the Giant Peach, which I've never seen James and the Giant Peach.
You should watch it. It's so good.
And I saw Coraline for the first time last year around October.
Really?
So I think maybe I'll watch James and the Giant Peach sometime soon. But yeah, supposedly Selick is also working on a Little Nightmares claymation adaptation.
Because I was just about to say, it definitely had a very like Little Nightmares-esque feel to it that I really liked.
Which I'm excited for that. I wonder if it's going to be like a film or a series. I feel like it could, stop motion is a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a film rather than a series. And the story of Little Nightmares, I feel like would work better as a film because it's very short. It's not a very long. Neither of the games are very long. I've never played the first one, but I've played the second one all the way through. And yeah, the stories they're extremely short. I literally played Little Nightmares 2 in one night, in one sitting. 12 o'clock midnight when it came out. I had already pre-ordered it, pre-downloaded it. So 12 o'clock midnight, I started playing it, and I played it until like, I don't even remember what time I finished. Maybe 4 o'clock? I think it's only like 4 hours. I can't remember. I just remember staying up all day until it was like starting to get light out, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I should probably go to sleep.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited for Wendell Wild. Stop motion, great. But Netflix isn't really advertising this much.
Yeah.
I wonder why. It's probably because it's animated, and
Netflix feels about animation.
Netflix hasn't been doing a lot of, especially animation with people of color like this one.
Oh yeah.
They definitely don't like about that. But something they have been advertising, Cyberpunk Edgerunners on Netflix, is really good. It's better than the game, I'll tell you that.
You started watching it?
Yes. I'm on like, I don't know. I got 3 episodes left.
It's on my list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, it's good. The animation is just as great as you'd imagine from Studio Trigger. It is beautiful. It's a good looking.
Of course.
It's a good looking anime, and the story is a tale as old as time. It's essentially a kid who's who's grown up poor, and is essentially trying to like rise up, through like crime.
Of course.
Like it's not like a new story, but it's told through on top of like the very interesting backdrop that is Night City and the cyberpunk genre, and that just makes it inherently very interesting. I saw a tweet that described it as like Ghost in the Shell meets Promare, and that is a pretty accurate kind of like description. I'm still waiting for the game to reach a state that makes it worth my time. To me, it's still not there. But the show does make me want to play it. I bought it when I don't know what happened that day. That was the day I felt like me and pre-orders stopped being friends because I don't know what about it made me really want to play that game when it like the day it came out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get it, and I got it, and I was like, oh, this game's horrible, and got my refund because they had issued refunds after everybody was like, wow, this game's a lie.
Right.
um, and like it's sad because if people don't know that story, essentially, from the outside looking in, a lot of people would assume that the game had like almost 10 years of development time, but that just wasn't the case. It had more like half of that, like five maybe. And even then, they were still like rushed, and there was a lot of stuff they wanted to add to that game that they just couldn't because the people up top were telling them to get it done fast, and they crunched, pushed it out, and it was a mess. And they put it out on old hardware like PS4, which is back when it came out. I had a PS4, and it just did not run on PS4. It crashed several times.
Dang.
And it was just a game that should not have been released on last gen. It just shouldn't have. It didn't function on there. And now I think currently it just isn't available for last gen at all, and you can only play it on next gen, which is good because it just doesn't function on there. And I hope that, of course, with having sunk all this money into it, they're not going to give up on it. It would suck if they did. So
Right.
they're going to build it up, and I'm waiting for them to just build it up to a point to where I'm like, okay, this finally feels like a game that I want to play. And we'll see if it ever gets there. Maybe it just won't, and I'll just never play it. But or maybe one day, even if it doesn't get to the point where I want to play it, it will just be at such a small discount that I'll just buy it because of that. But we'll see. Um, so I've also been watching Harley Quinn, the animated series. The season just ended. Uh,
Mm.
so this season hasn't been nearly as good as the first two seasons, but it's still fun. It digs into Batman's trauma, as well as Ivy as an eco terrorist, and kind of a Harley transitioning into becoming an anti-hero. And the ultimate conflict is essentially Bruce's inability to deal with his trauma causes a catastrophe. And Ivy's plan, her one of her eco terrorist plans will cost the lives of like a lot of people, and Harley is kind of becoming a hero, so she's like, I don't know if I can let you do that. So they kind of clash there. So there's some great arcs, and the episodes that focus on those arcs, particularly the last three episodes of the season, were really good.
Mm.
But something that the first two seasons did much stronger was that there were a bunch of individual episodes that just did had a bunch of isolated stories and a lot of really good jokes. And I don't feel like there's as many great jokes this season or isolated stories to really help the season as a whole feel good, whereas only pieces of it feel good, and some of it is eh. But
Mm.
overall, it's a great show, you know. And I hope it gets to season four because David Zaslav has been axing animation on HBO, especially particularly HBO original shows, not just animated but just shows in general. And this is a
Mm.
show starring a, a lesbian couple, and they're both women. So I don't know, man. Zaslav, based on his track record, this show doesn't. It looks like it might be on a chopping block, but we'll see.
I hope not, because
But yeah, this episode is gonna be full of showcases. Um, there have been so many showcases for games especially, but we're actually gonna start with D23 Disney's showcase where they showed some projects working on, and I put two of interest here in terms of animation. One of them is actually they're making a sequel to the live action Lion King, and I put in animation because let's be
mm.
real, it's not live action, it's all animated, it's all CG.
Mm.
So yeah, it's titled Mufasa, and it will be a prequel. And
Uh-huh.
here's the thing: so they're making a sequel to a movie that a lot of people like it got a lot of backlash because of the lifeless, photorealistic animals that they use. So I hope because they're doing this, they've learned a lesson. And so there's a film on Netflix called Mowgli. It's a adaptation of Jungle Book, and
Mm.
it's directed by Andy Serkis, who is a very famous motion capture actor. He played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings film. He played Caesar in Planet of the Apes. He's just
Mm.
he really understands CG as in both being able to perform and also how it's made. So he directed Mowgli, and in that film, the animals' faces were a seamless blend of the actor's actual face, and their facial capture, and the animal that they're playing, and they blended to make this something between realistic and cartoony, but can still work standing next to the real life actor playing Mowgli.
Right.
And because of that, their faces move in a way that animal faces can't move naturally in real life. Therefore, bringing that expression that made the original Jungle Book. Granted, this is based off the original story, not the Disney cartoon, but
Right.
comparing it to that cartoon, the thing that made those animals stand out was the fact they don't look like real animals. Their face move like humans, and it displays emotion that you just can't see in real animals. And he made these animals' faces move in ways that a normal human faces would, while also having them still look like animals. And that is something I hope this Mufasa film, brings in, hopefully. But I don't have high hopes, honestly.
Yeah.
But if they were to do that, it would be dope. And I feel like people would realize that the things like this can work. It's just a matter of putting like the proper time and love into it. So
Mm.
they also showed a trailer for Tales of the Jedi, which is a canon anthology series delving deeper into the histories of several of the Jedi, some that we know, and I think in the first season, all of them are Jedi that we know, but maybe in the future they'll touch on some Jedi that we've never seen before, maybe even in like past eras that Star Wars just haven't touched on in live action or cartoons. So yeah, it's being done in the Clone Wars art style, and
Ooh,
a lot of those
fantastic.
same people working on it. That art style is great, and seeing how it's evolved is dope. And they're using a lot of the old designs from like the first seasons of the Clone Wars, but with the updated visuals of current Clone Wars, and it's great. I love it. Uh, I'm most excited about to learn more about a young, not well, yeah, I guess young Count Dooku back when he was a Jedi before he became a Sith, and there's going to be some episodes about that, as well as a couple episodes about Ahsoka, and I'm always up for more Ahsoka. Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character, so
Hmm.
yeah, I'm definitely excited for Tales of the Jedi. What's your experience with Star Wars?
Me, I watched the Clone Wars growing up, and as a young lass, like had a crush on Clone Wars Anakin, and that is the most I've interacted with the series ever.
Yeah, yeah. Clone Wars Anakin is like the best Anakin. It made Anakin one of my favorite characters. He might be my second favorite, maybe third. I don't know. He's up there though. He's one of my
Hmm,
favorite characters.
gotcha. Yeah, I
Um,
watched it. See, I watched Clone Wars when I was too young to like understand themes in media and stuff. So I was just like, ooh, cartoons. But like, if I were to go back and watch it now, I'd probably enjoy it still a lot, despite not knowing much about Star
yeah,
Wars.
it's great. I feel like the first two seasons are harder for me to watch because it was still very much targeting kids, whereas
Mm.
the further like after that it starts to get to where it's targeting like all ages really, and it starts to get more mature and tell more mature stories, and it gets real good. It gets real good.
Ooh, good.
Clone Wars is one of my favorite cartoons up there with like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I love Clone Wars.
Oh wow.
It was I had seen the first six films before watching the cartoon, but it
Mm.
was the cartoon that really made me go, okay, I like Star Wars. Like I had seen the other movies when I was a kid, and I was like, this is fun, but I didn't think about it further than that. But then I watched the cartoon, I was like, wow, Star Wars is amazing. But moving on to comics. Anything you've been reading lately in comic wise, manga, anything?
um, Shadow's House, absolutely. Chainsaw Man, the newest Chainsaw Man's,
Chainsaw Man's been good.
which it is really good. I'm scared to see where it's going. Uh, I don't know. It feels a little like the direction that it's going in right now is scaring me. I'll say that.
Why so?
I've been
Why is that?
reading, huh?
I said, why is that?
I don't know. It's just like I feel like they're trying to set up this thing, and of course, like Chainsaw Man spoilers, whatever. I feel like they're trying to set up this thing between like Denji and the War Devil and the girl that the War Devil is inhabiting. It's like, oh, I don't want to kill him because he's cool and I know him personally now, and it's like I don't want them to do that because it's like I feel like that trope is really overplayed. Like I want her to continue to hate Denji, and it's like I want her to be like, I don't necessarily agree with you trying to kill him, but I'm going to help you because A, I want my body back, and B, he's kind of a dickhead, like, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, I don't know. And
Yeah.
then the whole thing
We'll
with
see.
Yoshida being mysterious, and I just don't like it. But the art is amazing, as usual, as to be expected from Fujimoto, so I can't be too mad at it.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. So I've been rereading Bleach. So I've been wanting to reread Bleach for a while now, but it was a combination of totally out Mark starting his review on it. He's a YouTube manga reviewer, and this is his first time reading it. He had watched a bit of it but didn't like it before, but now he's reading it and he's enjoying it a lot more. And also the return of the anime, and those two things together made me go, okay, I'm finally gonna start rereading it. And not only is it as good as I remembered, but with my like evolved knowledge as a consumer and a media, as a consumer of media and a storyteller, I enjoyed even more than I did when I was younger. So at the end of his first review, Mark talks about how Bleach was initially rejected by Shonen Jump in 2001, but Dragon Ball Z's creator Akira Toriyama, essentially sang its praises and got it serialized because he thought it was good and that it should be serialized. So he uses this story to discuss how some fans want Bleach to be seen as the great anime that it is, and to do so, in doing so, they will insult people and their opinions rather than, talk about how good it is like Toriyama did. And that message really hit because it reminded me of my experience with Bleach, but from the complete opposite end. Because and I'm sure you've noticed, Bleach is a very overhated anime. It gets hated so much, and it's one of those things. It gets hated because it was in the the big three, the top three most popular anime of all time. But I could be wrong, but it was almost always at number three, and because of that, people saw it as lesser than, despite the fact that it's in top three, meaning that it's above hundreds.
Right.
And it's only below Naruto and One Piece, which it's Naruto and One Piece, so like that's understandable.
You can't. Yeah.
But so similar to Mark, when I watched the anime, I actually didn't like it. It wasn't until I read the manga that I changed my mind, and the series got me into anime and manga, and Bleach has been my favorite ever since. But in the online space, I always heard people talking trash about it. And because of that, when I was much younger, I started to feel self-conscious about enjoying it. And that led me down a path of always starting my conversations about Bleach by essentially saying, I know it's bad, but. And I would start every convo with a list of negatives that I don't even agree with today at all, because I felt like I was a loser for just enjoying it. And that led me to pushing away potential fans by just talking trash about it rather than telling them how great it is. On this very podcast, one of the first times we talked about Bleach, I fell back into that habit and almost convinced Amir to stop watching it. When I was editing it, I was so mad because I could tell I was convincing him to stop watching it. And he said as much when I brought it up in the episode after that. And I've since grown more confident as a person and no longer care about what people think when it comes to my interest. So I've made a conscious effort to, when I talk about Bleach, I talk about what I love about it, because Bleach is amazing, and that's being reinforced with me rereading it for the first time in probably like 7 years. And Mark says something that he says that we should focus on what we love about this series, because building things up wins more minds, and tearing things down will only lead to more negativity. And he's right.
Right.
And I've experienced that firsthand. So to anybody out there who's going through a similar experience, just know that you're not obligated to justify why you like anything, even if it's hated by a lot of people. Just you can just enjoy what you want to enjoy. You don't need people to validate that. And in fact, and if you just want a community of people that like it, there's always going to be a community out there of people that enjoy what you like, rather than having a bunch of people who hate it. Go to the community that loves it. To say I'm excited for the anime returning October 10th is an understatement. I'm hoping that I will have at least gotten to the beginning of the Thousand Year Blood War arc in the manga by the time it starts airing. That way, because it'll be airing weekly, so I'll be definitely be running through that. I'll probably, within the first week of that first episode airing, I'll probably have finished the entirety of the manga. So yeah, I've also been reading One Punch Man. The last chapter was the end of an arc, the end of probably the longest arc in the entirety of the series. One Punch Man structures itself in a way that it doesn't have you feel like Saitama is the main character, and instead that it's an ensemble cast that get
Mm-hmm.
with cast members that get varying degrees of attention arc to arc, and this arc heavily focused on the villain Garo, the hero hunter, and he had an
Mm-hmm.
arc that made him easily my favorite character, and I'm excited to see where all these characters go in the future. Yeah. Uh, so Dual Powerbomb is a comic about pro wrestling. It's an indie comic about pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ooh.
uh, it's about a girl who wants to become a famous wrestler like her mother before her, but due to reasons I won't spoil, no one will train her, especially her mother's trainer and family friend, because her father told him not to. So, noticing her desperation, a necromancer, yes, a necromancer, who was banished to Earth and fell in love with wrestling, recruits her to join his wrestling tournament. And I've read the first 3 issues. I think there are 4 issues out, but what I'm doing is just they're $3.99 when they release, but then like after a month when the next issue releases, it goes down to $1.99. So I just wait for it to go down to $1.99, and then I buy it. So I'm only on issue 3, despite there being 4 issues out.
Mm.
I've also been reading Batwoman, which is fantastically written by J.H. Williams III, who was the artist on Volume 1 of Batwoman, Elegy, with Greg Rucka writing it. And it definitely feels like he's continuing with Greg Rucka, where Greg Rucka let off. Excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuttering a lot. Left off. This volume deals with a lot of family drama and Kate attempting to get out from under the DEO's thumb. They know her secret identity and holding it over her head to try and convince her to figure out who Batman is. And it's a very good comic. This comic is, especially the very first volume. If you read Batwoman Volume 1, Elegy by Greg Rucka, drawn by J.H. Williams III, it will make you fall in love with that character. It is so good. The art is amazing. Her backstory is fantastic. She's a great character. And for people who don't know, Batwoman was created originally because people thought that Batman and Robin were in a gay relationship together, and because people are weird, so they created Batwoman and Batgirl as love interests for Batman and Robin to make it clear they weren't gay. That was like in the '60s. Um,
Right.
so Barbara Gordon actually wasn't the first Batgirl. It was someone else. It was I forget her name. The last name's Kane. Um,
Hmm.
but eventually, Bat in the canon of the universe, Barbara is the first Batgirl, and the girl that used to be the first Batgirl is now a separate character. And but in 2010 or 9, they rebooted Batwoman as a lesbian woman. So they took her as far away from being a Batman love interest as possible. Not only that, she's not lesbian, but she's also his cousin. So once again, as far away from being a Batman love interest as
Yeah. Oh
possible.
yeah.
I mean, I guess depending on what state you live in, but still.
Oh no.
So I've also been reading Animal Man, and the last issue I read was dealing with animal cruelty. Animal Man's a dope character because his arc in this comic has been he's he's a very goofy character. He's jokey. A lot of people just don't know who he is. That's what allowed us to focus on initially, but eventually he becomes more famous. He joins the Justice League, like their European branch or whatever. He's not European. He's American. He lives in like California or whatever. But his powers are that he can use the abilities of animals within a certain distance of him for a limited period of time. It's actually pretty cool power. And
Mhm.
throughout the story, he becomes vegan. He starts, like standing up for more like animal rights and like environmental stuff. And in this issue, he deals with animal cruelty, specifically a culture that exists in real life, where every year fishermen go on a dolphin murder spree, and
Hmm.
the townsfolk stand on the beach and watch it and enjoy it. He joins with this eco terrorist group, as well as an Aquaman character and former love interest Dolphin. No, she's not an actual dolphin. She's just a woman. This isn't The Boys. Um, and they put a stop to that year's hunt. It's based off of a real thing, like I said, that is done in the Faroe Islands of Denmark, and things have been done to try and stop it, but it has not been completely stopped from my very admittedly limited research. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know it's real and that it happens, but I'm not sure to what extent it is still happening. But I believe it is still happening, and it is being limited to how many they can kill, but they're still killing them. But Animal Man would make a great serious animated or live action, and it would be fun, goofy, and can spread a good message. And if you're interested in Animal Man, and there's one issue that I feel like would convince anyone to read Animal Man, it is called Coyote Gospel, and it is kind of like a parody of Looney Tunes and Wile E. Coyote, and it is amazing. It is ridiculously good. I would suggest reading that if anybody's interested in reading Animal Man or figuring out if they would be interested. So Teen Justice is a comic that's basically a combination of Young Justice and Teen Titans in a universe where all the characters are gender swapped. So Troy, who is this universe's Wonder Girl, but he's a guy this time, of course, has been kidnapped by Sister Blood, which is, again, gender swap of Blood, if you ever watched Teen Titans cartoon. And they worship Trigun, and Raven, who has feelings for him, is eager to save him. And the team convinces Raven, who is to slow down and work with them as a team. And the Justice, they're not called the Justice League in this universe, they're called the Justice Guild. Aquagirl went off-world with the Justice Guild to Star Sapphire's homeworld, and she tries to find her way back to Teen Justice because she's off the planet. But yeah, I started reading this because of a character that showed up in I saw for the first time in, I think, Future State Justice League, but the second time I saw them was in DC's anthology series. What is it called? I can't remember what this is called. Their Pride anthology series, and their name is Jess. I think it's Jess. Yeah, Jess Quick, and they right now they're Kid Quick, but Jess Chambers is their name. I mean, their mother is or I think aunt is Jessie Quick, and they're their Flash in the future, but in the current timeline, they're from a different universe, and they go by Kid Quick, and they're just a dope character. They're non-binary, and I was just like, I need more of this character, and this was a good way to get more of that character, but also got introduced to a bunch of other interesting characters in the process. So the last but not least, the Flash. I love the Flash. The Flash. Every day I have to wonder if I like the Flash more than Batman and Spider-Man. Every single day, because I love the Flash so much. And the current Flash comic is amazing. So Flash 2022 Annual is a beautiful love story. The entire issue takes place within the pages of a book that the Flash Wally's wife, Linda Park, has written. And she essentially took events from their real life and kind of fudges it a bit and to tell an original story. While she's off going in a meeting with a publisher to get it published, Wally starts reading it, and the entire issue is essentially him reading that book. And what Wally has is what Spider-Man should have been for the past 20 years. Wally in the 80s, Barry Allen, not the original Flash, he's technically the second Flash, but Barry Allen, the Flash that everybody knows, died. Wally West is Kid Flash, but when Barry died in the 80s, Wally became the Flash. And do you want to know how long he was the Flash for?
How long?
Over 20 years, real life.
Good Lord.
They left one of their most popular characters, the Flash, Barry Allen, dead for 20 years, and his sidekick took up his role. And everybody fell in love with Wally. And DC did one of their reboots, and Wally disappeared. He was gone for like 7 years, and then they brought him back, wrote a bunch of horrible stories that everybody hated with him. And then they were like, you know what? People clearly don't like this. Let's just go back to form. Along that 20 time period, he got married. He has 2 kids. And that has been that was his status quo for like 10 years. This is unprecedented in the superhero universe. When a character has a kid, they always reboot and delete the kid. It always happens. Spider-Man had a kid in the 90s. That kid was deleted. That kid ceased to exist. And that kid is dope. And she grew up to be Spider-Woman. There are a bunch of like alternate universe stories with her. And she's dope. Her name's Mayday Parker. And she should have existed for the past 20 years. And it sucks that she hasn't. And Spider-Man...
Is that the same kid that killed Mary Jane because of radiation? Or is that a different...
No, that was...
Spider-Man universe?
And I forget the name of the comic, but spoiler for anybody who hasn't read it. I don't even know the name for it. I would have to look it up. But Spider-Man kills Mary Jane because his sperm is radioactive and she gets cancer. It's a weird story. But, like, that was very random. I don't know where that came from. But, yeah, that story's weird. But Peter should have had a kid a long time ago. And him and Mary Jane keep breaking up. But keep getting back together. Just leave them together. It's okay for them to just stay together. It happens. It's not like a fictional thing that people stay together.
Right.
Like, they just always like to restart characters from the beginning of their arcs again because they want Peter to be this very specific type of character. And the thing is, he doesn't have to because he's been an adult for a very long time. And we have a teenage Spider-Man. His name's Miles Morales. Make him your premier, young, struggling Spider-Man and have Peter be the older, has a kid, and is married Spider-Man. It's easy. But they're weird.
Right.
The comics are weird, but we can discuss that another time. But moving on to TV and film.
Wait, before we move on, all your talk about Bleach reminded me that I am excited for the Trigun remake. That's all.
So yeah, but me and Amir talked about it, and we talked about the trailer and stuff. And we were like, we're glad it's getting remade and that they're going to be delving into Maximum, which I reread all of Trigun recently, and I'm currently in like the middle of the first volume of Maximum. I think Maximum is just for me personally, Maximum is so much better than Trigun because it takes that serious tone that showed up at the end of the original Trigun series, and that's the entire series, but they can still be, tell jokes and stuff. And I love that tone. I feel like that tone was perfect, and the story was great. I didn't finish Maximum, though, and that's my goal, is to finish Maximum before the anime comes out.
Gotcha.
And I like Studio Orange. I love Beastars. I think that they are the best, like, 3D animators when it comes to anime, in the industry. But when it comes to an anime that already has a character, a very famous character with a famous character design, and it already had a previous anime that was done in 2D, I don't think they should have changed that. I think that if you reboot it, you don't reboot it and make it 3D and change the character design. I think that's a really, really weird choice on the part of whoever is in charge of choosing the studio to make it or the direction that the story should go. I think that was a really weird decision, and I still hope it's good, and it probably still will be good, and the animation will probably still be beautiful.
Right.
But my problem is, okay, I can deal with the fact that it's 3D because I am not a person who has this grudge that most people have against 3D in anime. I'm not like that. I actually like when they use it because the more they use it, the better they get at it. But I feel like it was really the change of the character designs that made me go, why? He already has an iconic design. You didn't need to change it. That's an unnecessary change. But my hope is that it starts off before the story takes place in the original anime and the manga, and that maybe it's a prequel and he changes back to his original costume for the beginning of the actual story. That would be dope. But like I said, my only problem is I don't think they should have done done 3D, but it's done. It's whatever. But changes his design. Completely unnecessary. I don't think they should have done that.
Right.
But moving to TV and film. So, speaking of David Zaslav, he claims he wants HBO to be the Anti Netlflix. He wants to focus on all theatrical releases, and he's a fan of linear TV. And he's happy to sell content to other players and focus on the bottom line. I hate this man with every fiber of my being. He essentially wants to always release movies in theaters, never have them also released on HBO Max, and he wants he wants a bunch of basic TV shows and anything that's interesting he's gonna ship off to other he's still gonna have it be made but ship it off to other
like
streaming services and platforms. Exactly. Like he did that with Batman. The easiest slam dunk in history. A Batman cartoon made by the same people who made the original Batman animated series. Plus the Matt Reeves, who directed the most recent Batman movie that people loved. You have all of these things coming together to make this incredible animated Batman series. And he said, you know what? We should sell it to a different platform. What? Isn't the whole point of having a streaming service? Is to put all your content on there so that once it's aired on TV, people can go and watch it on HBO Max. 1. 2, have original stuff on there so that people flock to it and give you more money. But he's doing like the complete opposite and forcing people to go to other streaming services to get their content. I don't know what's going on with this guy. I'm still mad about it. Close Enough and Infinity Train because all this did was make me want to watch Infinity Train, and then it was too late for me to watch Infinity Train.
Infinity Train, yeah.
It sucks.
It's like he's literally ruining the platform, and it's like
he's just doing it.
How are you?
He doesn't care about the consumer.
Yeah, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot repeatedly.
Like he
For
thinks
what? Too.
he's doing this to make more money and get tax write-offs, but ultimately he's losing money. And here's the thing, though.
Right.
I would cancel my subscription, but they do have a lot of other cartoons that I want to watch. But here's the thing: if they cancel, excuse me, not cancel, if they remove even one of these shows, I'm canceling it. My mother's gonna be mad because she uses my HBO Max subscription, but like I'm canceling it because if they remove like Ben 10, any of the Batman cartoons, or like Samurai Jack, it's over. I'm done.
Right.
I'm out of here because that's what I'm here for. And if you take it away, you've taken away the only thing that's kept me here. But moving on, She-Hulk on Disney Plus. So I can't remember what episode it was. I think the 4th episode was easily the best episode of the series. Wong continues to be the best supporting character in all of the MCU. And there was some good action this time. This show is mostly a comedy, so I'm not expecting action, but the action that they have had has been disappointing, but this time around was actually pretty good. This feels like the most like a TV show out of all of the MCU shows. First and foremost, because it's 30 minutes, but also they're definitely writing it with the intent of it being a show.
Right.
And I feel like episode 4 encapsulated the entirety of what this show is striving for, and it's trying to be a 30-minute comedy with like with a 30-minute law comedy with a bit of action, and that's exactly what it's been so far, and it's been fun. In contrast, episode 5 was probably my least favorite episode. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't as good as the episode before it. But they introduced a character that's kind of like the Edna Mode of the MCU, who like makes costumes for superheroes. So I'm interested to see what they do more with that character. So moving on back to D23 in live action, The Little Mermaid. I assume you've probably seen that teaser.
I have.
Yeah, and you know, Little Mermaid live action remake starring Halle Berry. I said Halle Berry. Halle Bailey. Halle Berry. Is it Haley?
I don't know. I definitely misread it as Halle Berry every time I see it.
Every time I see it, I say Halle Berry. And it's not Halle Berry. It's Halle Bailey. I hope that's how it's pronounced. It might be Halle, but Halle Bailey. And as you can imagine, a lot of racists came out the woodworks in droves. And
they're big mad.
Yeah, so there is a pattern of redhead characters being played by black people in live action, which I admit is kind of weird. I don't know why that happens so often. But I feel like that is worth a discussion because it does happen a lot. But also, all those characters are characters whose race aren't important to their story. And it's not like black people can't also like have red hair, like Halle Bailey does in this. Halle Bailey just sounds weird to say out loud. I hope Halle Bailey. But the crux of the discussion is if race isn't important to a character's story, it shouldn't matter if their race is changed. For those who call it a double standard, the reason it matters if it's done to a person of color character whose race isn't important to the story is because in that specific case, it would be taking the representation that race has away from them. So if you're trying to change a black, Asian, Latino, whatever character to a white character, you're taking away the little bit of representation that character already has in Western media.
Right.
Whereas if you take a white character and make them any other race, there are still a lot of other white characters for people to relate to. So, yeah. But to end this on a good note, I have not cared about any of the live action remakes except for Aladdin, because Aladdin's one of my favorite Disney movies. But this one, I don't dislike Little Mermaid. I just don't really care about it. But this movie, I actually want to watch. And part of that is due to the fact that the main character is being played by a black woman. And that just goes to show that representation matters. Because just that little bit of representation made me go, I want to check this movie out.
Seems neat.
I've
never really... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've never really been a big Disney person. I'm going to be real. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, Disney is my entire life. I've just never been that kind of person. But I also am like, at least semi-interested in this movie. Because, again, like you said, representation matters. It's cool to see Ariel be black. And mostly I want to watch it and see it do well. So the people who are like, oh, race doesn't matter for a character, I want to see them get big mad when it succeeds, basically.
I saw a thread on Twitter of like a bunch of black parents recording their children reacting to the teaser. And I couldn't help but smile ear to ear. The kids were so happy. But yeah, like you said, I hope it's good. And I hope it's a first step in Disney actually making good live action remakes. Because I don't feel like they were impossible to do. I just feel like they just haven't been putting in enough effort to make them good. But also, I feel like
Right.
something that they should start doing with these is stop copying them, like word for word, and just make a almost completely different story. I honestly would prefer
Right.
that. Because what's the point of telling the exact same story that you already told in animation? You should take it and do something new and different. I think it's weird that every time they do these things, it's the exact same story but in live action, which is, depending on you ask, I would say worse because I feel like it's better in animation. So
Right.
if you're gonna do it different.
And it's like with Ariel, there's so much potential to do like different stuff.
Yeah.
But
Especially with her story, which is basically her changing herself like a man. Like you could make a really interesting story, like turning that on its head.
right.
But we'll see what they do. I doubt. I'm sure it's just gonna be another carbon copy,
Yeah.
which will suck. I'll
Knowing
probably
Disney.
yeah. But yeah. So they also showed a trailer for Mandalorian season 3. In the trailer, they mostly just showed Mandalorian going to his home planet of Mandalore. Well, he's not from Mandalore. He's an adopted Mandalorian. But anyway, there will be way more Mandalorians in this season than the previous 2 seasons combined, which is dope. And I'm still mad that we saw him get Grogu back in Book of Boba Fett instead of his own show. Book of Boba Fett was one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen in my entire life. I was so excited for that show. It was not great. But also, not only was it not great, there were 2 full episodes that were straight up, and I'm not kidding, they were just straight up The Mandalorian Season 3 episodes 1 and 2.
Oh boy.
So The Mandalorian came in, completely took the spotlight from Boba Fett, in a Boba Fett show that already wasn't good. It was horrible. But yeah, Mandalorian on the other hand, fantastic show. I love Mandalorian. I'm excited for Season 3. They showed a trailer for Marvel's Secret Invasion, which it looks like it's going to be a political thriller and has like Captain America Winter Soldier vibes, which is my favorite MCU movie. So if it's anything like that, I'll probably love it. And Don Cheadle returns as Rhodey. And they confirmed that Armor Wars, the show that where Rhodey as a... I'm not forgetting his superhero name. It's not Iron Patriot. It is War Machine. Is actually still happening because they just haven't said anything about it for a long time, and people thought, they canceled it. No, Armor Wars is still happening. We'll see how that goes. But they also released the image of the Thunderbolts lineup, and it sucks. So on this Thunderbolts team, we have Yelena, Bucky, U.S. Agent, Ghost, Red Guardian, Taskmaster. All 5 of these characters have, well, except one, have a similar skill set, essentially the exact same skill set. They're just like hand-to-hand fighters, and they know how to shoot guns good. 3 of them are super soldiers, and 2 of them are Black Widows. And this is supposed to be essentially like an evil, or not necessarily evil, but a Avengers built up of villains, or former villains. And really what they just made was Super Soldier the team. And it sucks because in a team like this, in most superhero teams, you want to see diversity in the characters and their powers and their abilities. And only one of them has a unique power in Ghost, who can like phase through stuff. She was the main villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So yeah, it's a very disappointing lineup. It could still end up being a good show, but I don't know. I just wish the lineup was more interesting. Werewolf by Night. Did you check out that trailer?
I did, and I think I'm gonna have to go watch that movie because it looks so cool.
Looks so good. So when I heard Moon Knight, he had his show recently. Moon Knight actually debuted. His debut in comics was in the Werewolf by Night comic. So everybody thought that Werewolf by Night was gonna show up in Moon Knight, but he didn't. So when that happened, people were like, well, maybe he'll show up in season 2 or something like that. But then it was announced that Werewolf by Night was getting his own special, it's not a series or a movie. It's like it's probably gonna be longer than like 30 minutes or an hour. It'll probably be it maybe just be like an hour, but it's meant to be they call it like a special presentation. So it'll probably be like an hour-long kind of like short film. And it comes out really soon, October 7th, which is in a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
And like you said, it looks amazing. This is the type of stuff I want to see from Marvel. I want to see them do different stuff. This is so different from anything they've ever made. And I feel like they've gotten into a routine and gotten comfortable, and like, no, get uncomfortable and start making new and interesting stuff because you're getting stagnant, in my opinion, and they're starting to get real boring, and I'm tired of it. And Werewolf by Night hopefully shows them that this type of stuff can be good, and hopefully it's good.
Right.
Like I hope
I love. Oh, go
I
ahead.
hope that the visual style that they use, which is essentially kind of like the old Universal horror movies, like the Wolfman, and of course, obviously Wolfman because it's about a werewolf. But I hope I say I hope, but I think it's basically already been confirmed. Because
Hmm.
it's been a couple weeks since they showed this trailer that it will look like that for the show. I believe it's been confirmed. I hope it has. Because
Hmm.
if it didn't and it was just for the trailer, that would suck.
Yeah.
But it's being directed by Michael Giacchino, who is a composer. He composed all three of the Marvel Spider-Man films. He composed the first Doctor Strange. He composed the Batman, and he composed for the show Lost, and also, and my favorite of all the things he's composed, The Incredibles 1 and 2.
Mm.
And he's directing now, which I don't know if he's ever directed before, but I've never heard of him directing anything. So to see him stepping into director seat is very interesting. But what were you gonna say?
Hmm. Oh, I was gonna say I love that it has like that old timey like horror kind of look. It reminds me of not a horror movie, but it's a like film noir movie called Sin City. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Love that movie. You should watch it if you haven't. And like the whole thing is shot in black and white, but only certain bits are in color. And I just love that like I don't know. I love that like visual style of everything being in black and white, but it still works like in a from a modern standpoint. I adore it, and I can't wait for this movie to come out.
Yeah, Sin City has always been a movie that I remember seeing trailers when it first came out, and I was like, I would like to see that, but I still haven't watched it. It's on HBO though, so I'll probably see it eventually. But
Oh, it is, but because I have it on disc, but I haven't been able to find my disc copy, and I've been wanting to rewatch it lately, so I have an excuse.
yeah, so a character by the name of Man Thing was shown in the trailer, and he'll make his MCU debut, and that'll be fun. He's essentially I think he came first, but since Swamp Thing's more popular, he's Marvel's version of Swamp Thing. And also I'm hoping Mahershala Ali shows up as Blade because this was like the perfect first thing for Blade to show up in before his movie. Um,
Mm.
so they didn't show anything, but they announced some things for Captain America 4: The New World Order. Um, do you know who Captain America is currently? I don't want to spoil that for you if you aren't aware.
Uh, no, I don't.
Do
I
you
didn't think he was anything but Captain
do
America,
you, do
so
you care if I have you
not
seen?
really.
Yeah, so the Falcon has become Captain America. Um, in the
Oh.
comics of like 2014 maybe he became Captain America, and he's currently still Captain America alongside Steve Rogers in the comics. So he's now Captain
Mm-hmm.
America. He has a great costume. You should look it up if you haven't seen it. But yeah, at the end of in the very last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, the whole show is essentially him building up to finally accepting the shield and becoming Captain America. And in the next movie, he'll be the main character, Sam
Mm-hmm.
Wilson. Sam Wilson. So played by what is his name? I can't remember right now. But yeah, Tim Blake Nelson is returning as the leader. So he was in the Incredible Hulk before the current actor Mark Ruffalo was playing the Incredible Hulk. It was played by I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in that movie, and he was essentially teased as becoming a villain named the Leader, who essentially is a gamma irradiated character with like super brain, like telekinesis and stuff like that. Um, and so there's been a lot of controversy around this these announcements because a lot of people have issue with the fact that a Jewish actor who Tim Blake Nelson, who's playing the leader, is a Jewish actor being the villain in a movie that's named after the New World Order, which is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, and
Right.
they will also be introducing Sabra, a Jewish Israeli mutant that's known for being a Zionist in the comics, but having an arc where she becomes an anti-Zionist. So for Jewish Marvel fans, this feels like another slap in the face because Moon Knight is also a Jewish character, but they failed to properly address his religion. And according to people who've read far more Moon Knight comics than I have, because I've only read one volume, his religion is very important to his character. And a character like Daredevil, whose Catholicism is important to his story, is proudly displayed in the show, and it's shown to be an important part of his character, and it always has been. But in Moon Knight, they just kind of glazed over it. So people are
Mm.
afraid that whatever Marvel is trying to attempt with this film will fail, seeing as they haven't done it properly. And it's easy for me as a non-Jewish person to go, well, let's see and wait. But you know, I hope they tell a good story. But if Jewish people are already worried, we should definitely listen to them and hear them out. And
Right.
assess the situation and listen to the people being affected. But ultimately, I can see what they're trying to do, and if they do it well, it could honestly be a pretty good story. If it's a story about uh, um, a Zionist woman realizing like why what she's been enabling is wrong, and them essentially telling a very anti, um, you know, Israeli story would probably be pretty a pretty strong story for some people.
Hmm.
So ultimately, I feel like at its best, this story could be amazing and do a lot of good for a lot of people. But at its worst, it could do the complete opposite. So this is definitely this is something that could go both ways, and we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I'm excited for it because I just love the character, and I'm interested to see what they'll do with him. Especially since on top of all of that, stuff where they're very clearly based on the title of the film, like all of these things, like they didn't like Jewish like main villain and another Jewish superhero, and the main character being a black Captain America who is formerly white, and that being the obviously, I feel like all of these things are stacking up to where they're obviously doing it on purpose, and there's a very specific story they're trying to tell, and I hope they can tell it well.
Yeah, same.
So moving on to
It's hard to do stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Good. That's all I had to say.
yeah, it's a lot. We'll see what they do. So moving on to video games, where we'll have the biggest part. So Masahiro Sakurai started a YouTube channel
I saw.
where he discusses video game development in an accessible way for both current and future game developers, as well as just gamers who want to know more about how games are made. It's been really entertaining and informative for me, but I feel like he's releasing videos at breakneck speeds. I'm like, Sakurai, chill out. I need time, and they're short, but it's like I got a lot of stuff to do. I can't always watch your YouTube videos, Sakurai. But speaking of Nintendo, which that is his own personal thing that he's doing outside of Nintendo, by the way, for people who think otherwise. But The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2.
Tears of the Kingdom.
The title has been revealed, Tears of the Kingdom, and has a release date in May 12th, 2023. This is the only thing, not the only thing. This and Bayonetta 3 are making me want to buy a Switch. So there's an amazing YouTube channel titled. Dang, I was supposed to look up the title of the YouTube channel, and I never did that because there's just a underscore next to it. I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel. Well, I'll just have to like put it up on screen and add it. But
Okay.
yeah, this YouTube channel analyzes Nintendo patents for Zelda and discusses how they relate to the game. And one of the huge ones was Link having an ability to phase up through ceilings. I'll have to send you this video.
Oh.
And it's shown in one of the trailers, in like the very second trailer that they ever showed, where he like is going up through a surface and then coming up at the top. And there's a whole patent detailing how this works. And he went into detail, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be just as, like, they're adding new gameplay features that will be pretty much almost as revolutionary as a lot of the stuff that they added in the first game.
Right. And you know what? That reminds me of what they did in the Link Between Worlds. It's not vertical, it's horizontal, but Link can move not through walls, but like across walls, and it's used for like puzzle solving.
It's funny because in the video he specifically mentions how it's similar to that.
Yeah, I love A Link Between Worlds. It's one of my favorite Zelda games because I like A Link to the Past a lot, and it's based on A Link to the Past, so it's like, of course, it's going to be one of my favorites.
So the name of the YouTube channel is Monster Maze, and
Oh.
yeah, I'm gonna share this with you real quick. But yeah. So that's all I have to say about that, because they honestly haven't been showing much at all. They'll probably show more maybe at the. I wouldn't be surprised if I think, if I'm not mistaken, was Breath of the Wild announced at the Game Awards in like 2016 or something like that?
I think so.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they announce it at, like, they actually show a lot more at the Game Awards, like a gameplay trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So
I hope so.
because it's coming out really.
I want to see more of it.
Because honestly,
It looks so good.
and we'll talk more about it later when we get to God of War Ragnarok. But I hate the like. I get that you don't want to spoil the story, but I guarantee you, once I play the game, I'll find a gameplay section where I go, "Oh wow, you could have just showed us this. It wouldn't have spoiled anything." Because I hate that
Right.
nowadays, and it's partly due to the effects of the pandemic that games have just been a lot of things, not just games, movies, TV shows, all stuff like that have just been sucking at like advertising their stuff. They have just been waiting till the very last minute to show you anything, and I hope that isn't the case with this game because it comes out sooner than people thought. Really, I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed to like the summer, but we'll see.
Mhm.
Um, but moving on, so Call of Duty will be on Game Pass potentially. So
Oh wow.
Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, plans to bolster its Game Pass library by adding Activision and Blizzard titles. The most prominent being, of course, Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Diablo.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if Modern Warfare 2 will be on Game Pass day one because I was actually playing it last night. I downloaded the beta. It was my first time. One is my first time being interested in the Call of Duty in like 70 years. Two is my first time playing the Call of Duty in like 2 years. So it was fun.
Right.
Call of Duty can be fun when it does different things. So Phil has stated that Call of Duty will continue to release on PS5 or excuse me PlayStation for the next couple years, but suggests that it will only be for a limited period of time. So eventually, there will be no more COD on PlayStation. So PlayStation's president Jim Ryan did not like
Mhm.
that and made a very public and butthurt response. And I don't think Xbox should be allowed to make this purchase like at all. I low-key don't think they should be able to buy it, but I think that's ridiculous. But
Right.
I don't think Xbox should be allowed to make this purchase because one, it would take them so much like another step closer to being a monopoly, and that's ridiculous. But also it would negatively affect people who play on other consoles. But also yeah, I think that's it. I don't even know what I'm saying, but also um but there's a chance it might not go through because it hasn't been finalized. So we'll see.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Disney and Marvel had a game showcase that showed a
Hmm.
whole bunch of nothing.
Mm.
Nothing interesting. A bunch of like um I don't know, games that nobody cares about. There was only one very interesting game. So Uncharted creator
Mhm.
Amy Hennig and her new studio Skydance announced a long time ago that they were working on a game with Disney and Marvel. But we never knew what it was. So they gave us a very, very brief teaser. And it is a Captain America and Black Panther game. Not individually,
Oh.
but together.
Mhm.
And is currently untitled. The game is set during World War II. And you play as
Mhm.
four characters. A 19-year-old Captain America at the beginning of his career as Captain America. T'Challa's grandfather, Azuri. Um, Howling Commando member, Gabriel Jones. And Nanali, a member of Wakanda's budding spy network. So a lot of people are saying that those two slots could have been taken up by like Namor, the Submariner, and the original Human Torch to make up a group that existed during that time period called the Invaders that consisted of those two characters and Captain America. But then they could add Black Panther onto that, and I was like, yeah, that would be fun. Or
Mhm.
instead of this other guy, it could have been Bucky um, as the Howling Commando on Captain America's side. And I kind of
Mhm.
agree, but I'll just wait till we see gameplay before passing too much judgment. But she isn't restricted to this. But I only know the only games I know of her making is Uncharted. She created the series and she made the first three games or directed the first three games. So in my mind, I'm like, it'll probably be similar to that, maybe like an evolution of that. So I'm wondering how that works with like Captain America and Black Panther. Like Captain America using a gun is like nothing new. He was a soldier
Right.
during World War II. Like some people might be weirded out about him using a gun, but like if you watch the movie, you see him shoot guns.
Right. It's World War II also. Like.
And like it would be cool to have Captain America shooting guns and blocking bullets with his shield and throwing his shield. First off, just Black Panther and Captain America are two characters that everybody wants to have a game. Captain America had a game based off of the first movie a long time ago that was actually kind of good, but he never had anything after that. And the only Marvel character that has been getting video games is Spider-Man, just like how the only DC character be getting video games is Batman. And like,
Yeah, man.
I'm glad that they're finally expanding out. Like Wonder Woman's getting a game now. Black Panther and Captain America are getting a game together, so that's cool. I'm excited to see gameplay.
Right.
So, Ubisoft Forward. Ubisoft had an event that sucked ass. It it was like it was one of those things where like you hop in a meeting and go, this could have been an email.
Right.
Um, they showed us a whole lot of nothing. Um, and so the most interesting things was a CGI trailer for Assassin's Creed Mirage, a game that was leaked, which is unfortunate, but it is released in 2023, and everything in the trailer is referencing the very first Assassin's Creed game and how it's a return to form. Because a lot of people aren't a fan of the RPG approach that Assassin's Creed has been taking for the past couple games, past 3 games specifically. I'm one of those people. I'm just not a fan of those type of games.
Right.
And in the trailer, the environments, the character designs, the action, the story that they show, all look like they're definitely taking inspiration from the first game, and they say as much in the interview that took place afterwards. It takes place in Baghdad, and you play as a character that showed up in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and this is kind of his backstory. They also announced 3 other games. Assassin's Creed Project Jade, which will take place in China, but unfortunately it's a mobile game, and that sucks. Not the first. The first Assassin's Creed to take place in China was a 2D 2.5D platformer, which is again weird. And now they're making another one, but it's mobile. Like that is one of the most asked for places for Assassin's Creed game to take place in, and you make it a 2.5D game that is nothing like the game that we want, and mobile. I don't know. I think it's a weird decision on their part. But they also announced Assassin's Creed Affinity, which will essentially be kind of like a launcher for future RPG Assassin's Creed games. So the first one they announced was Project Red, which is still going to be in the RPG style, and it would take place between the first 2 Assassin's Creed games, and it will seemingly focus on Assassin's Creed versus Templars, which is something they haven't done in a long time, and it will take place in Japan, which, in my opinion, too little, too late. Ghost of Tsushima already happened. Like you missed your chance. Like somebody already beat you to a punch. Like Sucker Punch said, "Wow, for some dumbass reason, Ubisoft still hasn't made an Assassin's Creed in Japan. I guess we'll do it." So like I feel like not only are they late, but they're doing it in a style of game that I don't particularly like. But the thing about the most recent Assassin's Creed games is I always say that certain game genres, if you just plaster on something that I'm interested in, I will be infinitely more interested in it. Like, for example, like Assassin's Creed Origins. If you took that game and just made it Star Wars, I would love it. Like, no joke. If you just took that game, like, it plays the exact same. Everything about it is the exact same, except that it now aesthetically is Star Wars. I would play that game for like 300 hours. So, like, they're making a game that takes place in Japan that's just like those games. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'll give it a try. So another one they announced was Project Hex, which nothing has been confirmed, but it may take place during the witch trials within the Holy Roman Empire, which took place in what is now present day Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. So that's interesting.
That does sound really interesting.
So it was also said by Fauzi Mesmar, VP of editorial at Ubisoft. They want to focus on making games that don't try to do everything. He said, and I quote, "Want to be okay with making a decision around the one game and go. We're going to go for that, and we're going to commit, and we're going to be okay." I don't know why he said it like this, but
it does read a little odd.
it does read like really odd. I'm reading it word for word. This is weird. And that we're going to be okay that it can make those kind of people happy. Essentially, they aren't going to try and make one Assassin's Creed game that does everything. They're going to try to make individual games that touches on different aspects that people like. Like I said, they're making Mirage that's going to be similar to older games. And they're making Assassin's Creed Project Red and Hex that are going to be similar to the most recent RPG games. So they're going to do both instead of trying to do one. And I think that's a good idea. I think that's very smart. Yeah. Smart way to go about it. And they definitely have the resources. So as long as there's no crunch. So, PlayStation State of Play. So I liked it a lot. This was a great State of Play. They started off with Tekken 8, which I'm not a big Tekken guy, but it was just a good trailer. So whether I like the game or not, it was a dope trailer, and I enjoyed watching it. It was similar to like the first trailer that was shown in Mortal Kombat 11 at the Game Awards a long time ago, which makes me think that I wouldn't be surprised if NetherRealm showed either Injustice 3 or Mortal Kombat 12 at the Game Award this year. But it was a mix of like gameplay with like curated like cutscene animations. It was very good. Visually, it looks great, and it looks like the next frontier for all fighting games is like real time flexing muscles, because Street Fighter 6 is doing the exact same thing. And all of it was real time in engine too. None of it was pre-rendered. So that is just how the game will look. And I think it's only next gen, which makes sense because it looked ridiculous. Like I said, never been a big Tekken guy, but maybe they'll introduce something new that'll pull me in. We'll see. Like a Dragon, Isshin, is basically Yakuza, but in 1869 during the end of the samurai era. So the main character, Sakamoto Ryoma, is a true historical figure, largely credited with overthrowing the shogunate and taking Japan into a radical reformation. The story is told using the faces of familiar Yakuza characters. For example, the main character looks just like Kiryu from Yakuza. And, there's a bunch of other characters that look like characters from the Yakuza series. The combat looks fun, but, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the formula of the series. But I'll probably like to watch some people play it on YouTube or something. Project Eve now has a name. It's called Stellar Blade. They showed this at the 2021 showcase, PlayStation showcase, and it's made by a Korean studio called Shift Up Corp. And in the PlayStation blog, it's described as a classic. Well, it's not described as a classic hack and slash. They actually go into detail, but to me, everything they said is just a bunch of like classic hack and slash stuff that I love. So, like, if you've played a hack and slash game, imagine that. You play as Eve as she works with Adam. I know it's pretty on the nose, to save humanity from an enemy called the Natives, but it's spelled N capital A colon lowercase TIVES. I don't know why they did it that way, but
yeah, sounds weird.
I want to talk about something that I thought I was going to talk to Amir about but I'm talking to you about it. We're gonna talk about jiggle physics, okay? So,
jiggle physics.
Good old jiggle
All
physics.
Right.
So, but not in the way you think. So, I'm gonna start off this way, right? It's obvious jiggle physics obviously exists to cater to the male gaze, and there isn't one example where it isn't demeaning and used to like boil a woman down to sexual objects. But I think it would be far less egregious if it was more realistic. Now, hear me out. I think that jiggle physics looks stupid. I do not think they look sexy at all. But I think they could be made to be both less noticeable and also far more attractive if they were to be more realistic in the way that they moved. I know it sounds weird, okay? But it is an unfortunate fact that jiggle physics exist. So the best we can do is to make them better.
Right.
And that includes
and it's
like how they would move depending on the types of clothing that they're wearing and stuff like that. Like you just got to get better at it, and it won't be as weird, and two, it'll look actually good instead of just stupid. But I'm sorry.
What
were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I will admit, I am no better than a man. I do be looking at the jiggle physics, like, disrespectfully. However, I do agree with your point that, like, they could be better if they're more subtle.
Like, they haven't evolved. Jiggle physics look the same way today that they did 20 years ago.
That's a huge problem because, like, we're 20 years past the era of, like, them first being developed. We can do better. One of the games that I've seen do jiggle physics the best is Nier Automata, which makes sense because look at 2B, but like it's subtle, like it's tasteful, like, and the technology is there, the possibility is there. It's just like they're so focused on making it look desirable and sexy that they're missing the point completely, and it just looks weird and funny.
Yeah. Like if we can make muscle deformation, we can make good jiggle physics.
Right.
And also that jiggle physics technology can go further than just the booty and the boobs. It can go for actual fat on other parts of the body. So it could also just evolve in different ways.
Right.
But yeah, they also showed a game called Rise of Ronin. That looks amazing. Another hack and slash. A combat-focused open-world action RPG by Team Ninja, the studio behind Ninja Gaiden. This has been 7 years in the making, and a PlayStation exclusive releasing in 2024. So 7 years in the making, and it's still like another 2 years out. In terms of setting, it is literally the exact same setting as Yakuza Isshin, which I thought was weird that they showed two games that took place in the exact same setting in this showcase.
Mhm.
But except the minute-to-minute gameplay looks right up my alley versus Yakuza's doesn't. It's set at the very end of the Edo period in the late 19th century. I believe 1960s, just like I said, Yakuza did. In Japan is facing the darkest of times as it struggles with its oppressive rulers and deadly disease, while Western influence permeates as civil war continues to rage. There was a moment where an enemy was yanked to like a rooftop by a rope dart, so I wonder if that means there would be stealth. And if there is,
Mhm.
I gotta ask, what are you doing, Ubisoft? What happened? Why didn't you give us that Japanese Ninja Gaiden? You're too late now. Now everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is taking inspiration from Ghost of Tsushima, and you're late.
Mm.
They're just late. But it's funny. So Koei Tecmo has a PlayStation exclusive Japanese game in development. Well, they have an Xbox, not exclusive, but Xbox. I think it's maybe exclusive for like a year. No, I don't think it's exclusive at all. But it's like being produced by Xbox, a Chinese game. Like it's made by Koei Tecmo, which is a Japanese company, but the game takes place in China. I actually have the demo on my PlayStation right now. I was playing it last night.
Oh.
It's weird. They have a PlayStation exclusive Japanese game, and then a Xbox produced Chinese game that will also be on Gamepass when it comes out. It's but the Chinese one is more like it's like a Souls like, whereas this one is more like a open world hack and slash, kind of like Ghost of Tsushima. And I've been playing it, and it's it's a Souls like, so it's not easy, and I've been dying a lot, and I'm just figuring things out. After Elden Ring, I'm enjoying Souls likes more, and this one is very different because the combat is very hack and slash like, despite being a Souls like, which is very different from my experience. So I'm having fun with it. I'll see how far I can get before maybe I get too frustrated. But speaking of frustration,
You know what though?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to touch back on Project Eve. I think it's really like refreshing to see like more Korean studios putting out
for
like
sure.
more
I forgot to bring
games.
that up.
Huh?
I said, yeah, for sure. I forgot to bring that up.
Yeah, it's like it's so refreshing because like the only Korean studio that I've like heard of and like been excited for games from is before this is Project Moon, and their games are pretty obscure. Like not a lot of people know about Lobotomy Corp or Library of Runia or Limbus Company, so it's like seeing another like a Korean studio become a big name gives me hope. I'll say that.
Yeah, and also some like Chinese studios are getting bigger too. So it's just interesting.
It's just.
But since you're here, actually, I wasn't even gonna bring this up, but going back to like the Nintendo Direct, did you see the trailer that they showed for Master Detective Archives Raincode?
I did not, but I can go look at it real quick.
Yeah, so this feels like a game that is right up your alley. I'll send the link if you don't already have it open. But it
Oh no, I'll pass. I am not a fan because it's saying that it's by the studio behind Danganronpa. I'm not a fan of those games. I like visual novels.
So the reason I'm saying it's right up your alley is because I also am not a fan of those games in the slightest. This is nothing like that. This feels like a Persona game.
Oh yeah.
This feels like a Persona game. Like when I first saw it, every time I see a trailer for an RPG like this, I always get a little bit excited that it might be Persona 6. Especially since this had like a purple aesthetic, and a lot of people are assuming that the next Persona might have like a purple color scheme.
Really? I was leaning more towards green because they've done purple already with Q Shadow of the Labyrinth.
Didn't they do green already?
Huh?
Didn't they do green already?
No, they haven't done green. They've done blue, which is 3.
Oh, you're right. They did. Because I kept thinking a 3 was green, but no, it was blue, and then it was yellow.
You're thinking.
Yeah, then
I was about to say you're thinking of the Dark Hour.
Yeah,
the Dark Hour is very green, but blue. Persona 3 as a whole is blue.
Yeah, then it was yellow, then it was red. You're right. It could be green. You're right. Now that you say that, it could be green. It could be purple. It could be orange. It could be anything.
Yeah, orange and purple I doubt because the Q games, but I'm leaning very heavily towards green.
Yeah, green makes more sense.
I think. Yeah. But yeah, this game does look really good, actually. You know, like it definitely the Danganronpa art style turned me off from it. Like, because I've seen a little bit about it beforehand, but like looking at the trailer, I don't know, I might give it a shot.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, this game looks cool. Like, it reminds me of Persona. Maybe I'll check it out. But yeah. So God of War. So finally more God of War news. Like I said before, I'm tired of like studios not showing us anything about their game before it comes out. Like, yes, I know I'll already buy it, and yes, I pre-ordered it, but still, I want to see another trailer. And they showed another trailer, and it was one of the best trailers I've ever seen for a video game in my entire life.
Real?
So they started by messing with us and showed a trailer for a controller and some CGI, and people were like, "Up, I guess that's it. They're not showing anything else." But then immediately afterwards, they got into the actual trailer. The trailer, I mean, the controller actually looks pretty cool. It's like white and like a bluish purple with like on the touchpad is a wolf representing Atreus and a bear representing Kratos. So but yeah, trailer was great. I just like trailers to keep me hyped because the game's still not coming out for another 2 months. I still got a lot of time, so like, show me something.
Right.
Apparently, everything in the trailer was from only the first 5 hours of the game, and this game is supposed to be way longer than the first one because they're not making a third one. They're ending the Norse saga with this game because games take a long time to make and they don't want to make God of War forever. I hope the next game they make is something different because they've been working on God of War for a very long time. They have not worked on anything outside of God of War in years. And not years, in like 20 years. So like,
woo.
I'm interested in seeing them make something completely new after this and not touching God of War for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so excited for this game. It looks so fun. So in my excitement, I finally decided, you know what? I am going to beat the Valkyrie Queen. I'm going to beat Sigrun. And I did it. I played it. It started the day this trailer came out sometime last week. And on Saturday, I beat Sigrun. And I hate it. I hate everything about it. Because you ever fight a boss, get destroyed, and then wake up in the morning, and then like fight it a couple times, and then beat it and go, why was it so much easier after I went to sleep?
Right.
So this didn't happen. What happened was I played a little bit, took a break, I watched some YouTube. Now I watched a reaction, and it was the part of the reaction where they were discussing what they watched. And I decided, I'm gonna let that play while I just fight the Valkyrie Queen and get some practice in and get closer to being it. And I'm just playing it absentmindedly. I'm barely paying attention. And next thing I know, her health is real low. And I'm at full hellfire. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm at full health and she's almost dead. And then I beat her and I sat the controller down because I didn't want anything to get messed up because I did something. And I just sat there watching the cutscene like, oh my God. After 4 years, I finally beat this boss. It was amazing. And I also have right beside me, I have the God of War Lore and Legends, which is a gigantic tome of a book, but not a lot of pages. It's just that the pages are big. It's a big book.
Right.
And it essentially takes the journal entries from that Atreus makes in the game that you can look at in a menu, and expands on them, and also adds additional notes from stuff that he did that happens after the game, which is interesting. And it has been a really good read and very easy read, and I'm like halfway through it now. It's such a good book. I love it so much. And I finally did it, I finally got my first art book. I got the God of War art book.
Yay! Is it good? Do you like it?
Oh, it's beautiful. So I've seen it before. Like a long time ago, I was like went to Barnes and Noble with a friend, and I was just like looking through it, and I was like, I'm gonna get this book someday, and I got it, and it's great. It's big boy.
Huge. Yeah.
Heavy. But yeah,
the Nier art books are like that, and I love them. I display them. They're like coffee table books, honestly, and I love that for them.
Yeah, and like I had brought the Lore and Legends with me to Wide Angle yesterday because I had got there early, so I wanted to read it while I was waiting, and I said I was gonna bring this with me next time because I had showed Dan Sydney the book, so you'll be able to look at the art book on Monday if you're there.
Okay, I'll bring mine too since we're art book party. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have both the Nier art books, not the one for Replicant, just for Automata. The one for Replicant is next on my list, but it's out of budget right now. And then I have the art book for Hoseki no Kuni, that manga with the gem people. And it is gorgeous, but the whole thing is in Japanese, and it makes me sad because I want to read the commentary.
Yeah. So yeah, But I didn't pre-order it until after all of this happened, and I was like, you know what? Like, one, it's not like the price is gonna go down. Like,
Right.
it's not like the price is gonna suddenly go down in between now and the day the game releases, which is the day I was going to purchase it and play it. So like, I might as well pre-order it. So I
Right.
pre-ordered it because I mean, like, I'm gonna play it. I might as well get those pre-order bonuses. And yeah, I'm so excited for this game. And I wish I could just like go to the future.
Where it's
But
out
like,
already.
yeah, but yeah, I'm excited. So Tokyo Game Show.
Mhm.
Street Fighter 6. I know I sent you that trailer. What did you think?
Right. I think it's neat, especially because like I was reading the comments because I'm not a fighter person either. Like, but I'm at least familiar with Street Fighter, and like seeing how people are excited about how they're developing the story mode more, and like the customization is really exciting to me because I don't think I've ever seen that in a Street Fighter game before. And then I don't know, the game just looks fantastic. Like it's a really good looking game.
Yeah, so a big reason why people are so happy about it being so fleshed out is because Street Fighter 5 is one of the most disappointing games I've ever bought in my entire life. So I bought it at a discount because it was a little while. It was like a year after it came out. So it released with 16 characters, and that's it.
Mm.
There was no story mode.
Oh.
The online was trash, and the menus sucked. So it was an unfinished game for full price. It was it was so bad. And it was only like 3 years afterwards that it became a game worth buying. Which is always, sad to hear. And it was a point in time where Capcom was in a weird place. Like nobody liked, not nobody, but a lot of people didn't like what's that game called? Resident Evil 6.
Mm.
Street Fighter wasn't doing well. Like they just weren't doing great in fighting game place. And then next thing you know, things started getting better. Resident Evil 7, everybody loved it. Devil May Cry 5, everybody loved it. Resident Evil 8,
Right.
everybody loved it. Resident Evil 2 remake, everybody loved it. Resident Evil 3 remake, little more divisive, but it's but that was one divisive game out of all of the great games. And Monster Hunter World is the biggest one because it's the one that they made the most money from, and is the reason why we have all these things. It is low key the reason why Devil May Cry 5 and like Resident Evil 2 remake and stuff like that happen is because they have and still are making a ridiculous amount of money from Monster Hunter World and the most recent Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter game that they released. I forget it's called, but it's on the Switch. So yeah, Monster Hunter has opened the doors for so much, and they actually said that they took like the systems that they built for the character creation in Monster Hunter World and bring it to this game. So it has a story mode, which the last game added a story mode like 2 years after the game came out, and it was trash. This one has a story mode where you create your own character and you go and learn from other Street Fighter characters, and you use their moves, and you explore the city of Metro City, which is actually a city from a completely separate video game that also takes place in the Street Fighter universe called Final Fight.
Oh.
Where characters, Street Fighter characters that, because Final Fight is a game franchise that eventually just died, but those characters were essentially kind of assimilated into the Street Fighter universe, and that's Cody, who is currently the mayor of that city, according to his story mode, his like story in Street Fighter 5. Hagar, who is in, I don't think he's been in Street Fighter since 4. He was the previous mayor, but he's retired. Poison and a big guy whose name I can't remember for some reason. But yeah, so I don't know. It looks really good. It's a type of fighting game that will bring in new players who have always heard about Street Fighter because it's Street Fighter. It's like the grandfather of fighting games.
Fighting games, right?
And they've already heard. It'll bring a lot of people who've heard about it but have never played it. Like Kimberly, for example, the black girl. I'm sure you've seen it in the trailer. When her trailer was announced, announcement trailer was released with her and Jury, people were so hyped because one, it's the first time we got a new black character in a minute. We've only had the old ones. Like they're bringing back an old black character that was in like Street Fighter 2, which is the Street Fighter that really got the ball rolling for the franchise and is like probably the most famous one in the franchise. Named DJ, who's like a Caribbean guy who makes music. And she listens to music, and a big part of her thing is that she listens to music. And they say that it's a very particular character that we know, but they haven't said who. And I'm like, it's obviously DJ. He's the only character that makes music.
Right.
But like, yeah. And also all of the characters have been redesigned, not just from a visual standpoint, but in terms of gameplay. Not completely, but because you don't want to change them too much. But just enough to make
Right.
them more interesting to look at and to play as for new players. And everything about it is just a revamp to make the game more interesting. So they showed off World Tour mode, which is the story mode. The character customization, and exploring Metro City. They also have a gameplay modifier mode. Like I don't know if you've ever played Test Your Luck in Mortal Kombat, where like there's just a bunch of weird modifiers that make the game interesting. They added that.
Oh.
And like I said, it's gonna be a full on game when it releases. It's gonna release with 18 characters. The official roster was
Wow.
announced, and it will be Luke, Jamie, Manon, Kimberly, Marissa, Lily, JP, Jury, DJ, Cammy, Ryu, E Honda, Blanca, Guile, Ken, Chun-Li, Zangief, and Dawson. My favorite character is Ken. I love Ken so much. I was so happy when he finally announced him. So months back, the full roster was leaked, but there are 4 characters that was in that leaked roster that aren't in the official release roster. So they'll likely be in the first wave of DLC, and that is Rashid, Aki, Akuma, and Ed. So in the roster, there are like 8 characters, not just 8 characters from the original. Not the original, but from Street Fighter 2, but specifically characters that are called the World Warriors, because that's what Street Fighter 2 was called, Street Fighter 2 World Warriors. And these are the characters that were in the base game before they added like Super Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And that's Ryu, E Honda, Blanca, Guile, Ken, Chun-Li, Zangief, Dawson, and I think I said Ryu already. And then in Super Street Fighter, they added Cammy and DJ, and they're also in the main roster. And Akuma was also added, I think, eventually, but he's going to be DLC. He's one of those characters that he's like a mainstay of the franchise, but for some reason he's always DLC. And it's most likely because they know that people love him so much. They're like, people will pay for him.
Right.
I mean, they got to make the money somewhere.
Yeah.
So some may argue that 18 at launch isn't enough, but unlike Street Fighter 5, 1, this is 2 more characters than Street Fighter 5. 2, Street Fighter 5 not only did it have a small roster, but it was missing like some of the most famous characters that are usually in the base roster. But also, this is the biggest main roster of any Street Fighter game, like literally. So, but also it has a full-on story mode that they've clearly put a lot of hard work into. And it's not like people will play every single character. Like nobody's playing all 18 characters. Like, so there's no point in complaining about it. It's not like you're gonna play every single character. So yeah, it just looks great. I'm so excited for this game. I've been just getting.
It does look really good.
Getting way more into fighting games since Multiverses, because that's the first one where I sat down and just kept playing one specific character to get good at it, and I was like, man, this is fun. And I'm excited to just play Street Fighter 6 and its updated combat. And they have a kind of gameplay mode called Modern. There's Classic and Modern. And Modern, essentially, the controls change to play just like Smash Brothers, so that it's easier for people who have never played a Street Fighter game to play Street Fighters. So it's just directional attacks and stuff like that, and makes it way easier for people. And I think that's dope. So last but not least, GTA 6 leaks.
Yes.
So apparently a developer at Rockstar got phished, which is essentially being tricked and like clicking a bad link, and that resulted in the hacker getting access to the employer's Slack and stealing development footage. So I guess we can start with the morality of leaks and the reaction people have had to the leaks. So objectively, leaking stuff like this is bad. And ultimately, it harms not only the advertisement of the games, but it can spoil things the developers and players wanted to experience firsthand. And, finally it can ruin the, knowledgeable consumers, the unknowledgeable consumers' perception of said game. What I mean by that last part is that not everyone knows the ins and outs of game development, and not everybody really wants to or cares to. But unfortunately, that does not stop people from judging games based off of their non-existent knowledge of how games are made. People are seeing bugs and unfinished animations, environments, and characters and calling it bad, or saying that it looks like a PS3 game, which is, first and foremost, I hate that insult when people say something looks like a PS3 game or a PS2 game. And I'm like, bro, when was the last time you actually played a PS2 or PS3 game? Because no modern game looks anywhere close to those games. Like, I'm not saying they look bad. I'm just saying they look old. And there was literally a screenshot that was, so it takes place in Vice City, the game, which is essentially GTA's version of Florida. And there was a there was a no, it quite literally is like a fictional version of
Yeah.
Florida. So there was a
Real.
picture of a street corner, like a real place in Florida that they recreated in the game. And low key, the screenshot from the game looked more real than the actual picture of the real place. And I'm like, I don't know if that's because I'm chronically online or if the games just look too good. Like, even though it's unfinished, it still looks amazing. Like, for people who know how video game production works, when I see stuff like this, I go, wow, it looks really good. And this game's probably still another couple of years out. I'm excited for it. Whereas people who don't know say stupid stuff like it looks bad or like a PS3 game. So first and foremost, it's not finished.
Like, that's the biggest piece here. It's not finished.
Like, I don't know if you guys thought that games were made out of thin air or something, but they aren't, and they take a lot of time to make. This game's not finished, and it may still not be out for years. Secondly, they didn't want you to see this in the first place. Not all artists want to show their work in an unfinished state. I feel like that's more of a thing when it comes to like drawing. When it comes to drawings, people enjoy seeing and showing people the unfinished version of their drawing. But when it comes to games and like movies, nobody wants to show people unfinished versions of those, because those are things that there's so much information in how that story is supposed to be told that if you're missing it, you will be lost and might come to the wrong conclusion. So people don't like to show this type of stuff early. Last but not least, if a lot of people aren't aware of this, Rockstar makes more than GTA. And not only do they make more than GTA, the other games that they make are just as big as GTA, like Red Dead Redemption 2, which took a few years shy of a decade to finish and release. It took around 7 or 8 years, and guess when they started making it? The year after the first game came out. Which was like 2010, maybe? Not when it came out, but when they started making it. Let me see when the first Red Dead came out. The first Red Dead came out in 2010. I was actually right. And they started working on it in the second game in 2011. And it came out in 2018. So... and that was a very detailed game. I love that game. So if you would assume, since this is next gen, this was a game that came out on PS4 and Xbox One, and that game looks beautiful. I've been playing it on my Xbox Series X, and it looks just as good on the Xbox One as it does on my Series X, which is ridiculous. It just really utilizes last gen's technology. And it still takes a long time to load, even on my Series X. Even though it's faster than it took to load on my Xbox One, it still takes a while because it's a big game. So you can only imagine that on the next generation of consoles, and they're making a new game, it's going to take them even longer to make it. So just be patient, guys. So assuming, based on how they made Red Dead 2, that they started working on this the year after GTA 5 in 2015, and it's going to take 7 years. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22? Okay. 22, maybe they'll announce it. But if we to assume it's going to take longer, we've probably got another 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, but once it's out, you know it's going to be out for like 15 years. And they're not going to make another one for like another 20. So just be patient. They also plan on, in the leaks a while back, it being a game where they continuously update it. So this game's going to be around for a while. So they're going to really want to, work hard on it and make it the best they possibly can before they release it. So, we just got to have some patience. Now, on the other side of this discussion, in terms of morality, I cannot pretend that I do not enjoy leaks.
Yeah.
So I do feel bad for developers, sure. But as long as there are no spoilers for the story, I honestly enjoy getting more information about the games that I'm excited for.
Right.
Like, not too long ago, there was a leak, like I said, a leak about GTA 6. And they said that it would be like a Bonnie and Clyde type story where you play as two characters, one man of an unknown race and a Latino woman, in Vice City. And this was basically confirmed in the leak. It's a woman. I can't tell if she's Latino or not. But I would assume she probably is. She kind of looks like it. And that's probably the route that they're going, which is, a lot of people are upset that there was going to be it's weird the lengths people go to be sexist, because you know what people say? They say like, a woman can't do the things that you do in GTA. You're telling me a woman can't drive a car and shoot people and do drugs and like have sex with prostitutes? Are these all things specific that only men can do? Like, no. What are you talking about?
Right, and then I point to you to Saints Row, which has female protagonists,
Well,
and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and it like has a character customization, so I feel like that's very different. But
oh yeah, fair.
Yeah, but like
even still though,
because of this, I hope that Red Dead Redemption 3, there's a character in Red Dead Redemption 2 who does not die. Mm-hmm. Because that's a game where people die. And she survives, and I hope that the third game is her. Like the Red Dead Redemption 2 that you play as her. Because Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't a game. Red Dead Redemption isn't a game where you switch between characters like GTA. Because GTA 6 you can switch between 3 different characters, and then 6 is gonna like you can switch between 2 characters, or maybe it might be a couple more because we don't know. But in Red Dead they don't do that, so I would assume that you're gonna only play as one character, and I hope that one character is Sadie Adler from Red Dead Redemption 2. It's hard saying that a bunch of times. Red Dead Redemption. It's a tongue twister, but yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the last thing we got. Do you got anything to say before we're done?
Not really. Well, I'm excited for October because like every game ever is coming out then. And like I said, I am no better than like what the point you made about God of War is me with the Nier Switch release, because I've played that game to death, beaten it like 6 times. Am I going to buy the Switch release? Yes, I am. And the same with Bayonetta 3. Like I'm a little scared at the direction that it's taking, but am I going to buy it, pre-order it still? Absolutely. Like I don't know. It's just been a really good year for games, and it's refreshing to see, especially like after 21. I feel like 2021 wasn't really that good for the industry, honestly.
Okay.
That's all I've got. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm Dijon. You can find my ads below me. I'll put our errors ads below her. Excuse me. I should ask actually, because before I've heard you say that you go by she, them, but I want to be sure. Is it they, or is it she, or is it like, what is it?
Well, either or works. I'm not really pressed.
I just wanted to be. I just wanted to be sure because I feel like I keep saying she, and I will go back and forth between the two, and I didn't want to make a mistake and misidentify you. But yes, you can find our errors at below her, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytime content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.